Good mic test. Oh, we're good. Mic test, 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Mic check 1, 2, 3. Mic check 1, 2, 3. Mic test 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Oh, it's low. Okay. I'll turn it up. Okay. Testing 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna just bring the mic over to the camera while I change this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. How's that? How is that? Testing. It should be quite a bit louder. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, how about that? Is that louder? Testing 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Oh, really? That's so weird because on my headphones it's super loud. Sorry? What did you say? Okay, right here. Okay, putting the mic back. Let me know if it's too loud on the feed. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Check 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 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Will the congregation please be seated? Wow, what a crowd. A lot of love and support here. And we'd like to thank you for being here today. We'd also like to thank those tuning in online through East Idaho News and Local News 8. We'd like to thank them for joining us for the services today. We're here in loving memory of Christopher Tapp. And my name is Doug Coulter. I'm a funeral director with Coulter Mortuary, and it's been my honor to serve Chris and to serve Vera in their time of need. Today's funeral services are being conducted at 11 a.m. and it's Tuesday, November 21st, 2023. Here at Coulter Mortuary, the family prayer was offered previously by Brian Forsman. And my name is Doug Coulter, and I'm officiating at the services today. First of all, we'll have an opening song, which will be Never Not Remember You, which is a musical recording by Cooper Allen. Following that, we will go right into the life sketch, which will be offered by Athena Jenkins and Teresa Brown. Following Athena and Teresa, we'll have another speaker, and that will be Judge Mike Heavey. Following Judge Heavey, we will have a song called Break My Stride, which is a musical recording by Matthew Wilder. Following that, we will have a speaker, and that will be John Thomas. And following John, we'll have memories offered again by Athena Jenkins and Teresa Brown. And following them, I have a few brief remarks following them, and that will conclude the services at that time. After the services are concluded, Chris will be laid to rest in the Ryrie Shelton Cemetery in Ryrie, Idaho, where the graveside prayer will be offered by John Thomas. Pallbearers for today's service are Tom Brown, Fermine Hurst, Billy Tapp, Nico Guana. Am I saying that correctly? Okay. Nico Guana, Anthony DePiro, Jeremy Sargis, Rudy Guana, and Vernon Jepp. And honorary pallbearers for today's service are Drake Jenkins, Mike Reinbold, Frank Miller, Russell Baldwin, George Pahis, am I saying that correctly? Pahis, and Troy Lanier. And again, to everybody here and to those tuning in online, the family of Christopher Tapp wishes to express their kindness, their gratitude for your kindness in both thought and deed. And the services will go ahead and proceed in that order. So. And now we'll have the life sketch. Again, will be offered by Athena Jenkins and Teresa Brown.
Okay, Christopher Tapp was born on July 11th, 1976, to Peyton and Vera Tapp.
Christopher attended Gethsemane Baptist Church from preschool to second grade, followed by Ethel Boyce, Eagle Rock, Skyline High School, and then later achieved his GED.
While in high school, he met his first love, and we could go on and on, listing all the people he met that were important to him and all the people he loved throughout his life, but we would be here all day.
Chris's dad passed away in 2000. Christopher always referred to his mother as a tough old bird.
He loved fishing with his dad and Rudy.
When he was younger, he loved to go to coffee with his dad because he would give him quarters so that he can play all the video games.
One of Christopher's largest goals was to use the time that he had to travel and enjoy his new life. He did this by traveling the country with the Innocence Project and recently reconnected with John Odom, becoming a major partner in the Odom racing team.
This is from Tom. When me and Chris were in junior high, he didn't have a driver's license, so Chris would ride his bike out to my house at Noyes Park, which is past city limits, miles. Or I would ride my bike into town. So Chris called and said he was bored and rode his bike to my house. We messed around on the motocross track. Well, we decided we had enough riding bikes, so we went into the house to play some video games. He paused the game so he can go to the bathroom. I heard him scream and jump clear across the living room and landed on the couch. And all he could do was point, and I looked at him and said, what the hell? What the heck? So I walked towards the bathroom door, and there was a snake head poking out from underneath the door. And all I could do was start laughing and rolled on the ground because it was just a blow snake, a good-sized snake. And all he could do is say, I hate snakes, as I rolled on the ground and kept telling him and screaming that you scream like a little girl. I didn't even think you could jump that far or that high.
Okay. And this one's from Fermin. I was out trying to occupy myself with recent texts. Can you write a story that we can hear tomorrow? I started thinking about what story I was going to tell. As the thoughts started to come to mind, I started to laugh to myself. No, I better not tell that one. Nope, not that one either. I had many memories flow through my mind, but at the end I decided to keep them between Chris and I, which is probably the best. What was I going to write about? And then it hit me. I was going to write about the real-life fairy tale. So here's the story of a young man who grew up in a small town, a life that wasn't so different or average. He lived in a humble home with his mother and father. He was a grandma's boy. He ran around the neighborhood that he was raised in and played with the other kids. He attended school and every now and again got into a little mischief. Then the unthinkable happened. He came into a big blow and huffed and puffed like a wolf and blew the house down. The untruths he were told, and he became a young man with a new reality. He was thrown into the other wolves, and that would remain in his life for the next 20 years. Eventually, the truth was surfaced, and thanks to hard work and dedication of the team that happened to see the light, we now have a gentle giant who would also see the light. I often remember on the first time I saw Chris after his release, I attended a fundraiser, and as I scanned the room, I saw two eyes locked in my direction. When he knew that I had noticed him, I met a huge, goofy smile. He came over and gave me one of his big, famous hugs.
At this time, he was free, but still had a long battle before he could eventually be exonerated for a horrific crime he was accused of. It was from that very day and several times after that I would witness something extraordinary. This giant, bald-headed, fully tattooed individual who had just served 20 years in a cage just laughed it off when those who still thought he was guilty would make comments under their breath. This hardened criminal was still full of love, compassion, and hope. Those who took the time to talk to him would be in awe that he wasn't just chock full of anger. A man who, after spending so much time fighting for his own freedom, is now dedicating his life to fight for those also wronged. Sure, he eventually hit him in the pocketbook, but those who truly knew Chris knew that all he really wanted was a sincere apology, and that was it. The world has lost one of its best examples of mankind, and there won't be a day that goes by that I won't miss hearing from you. It was an honor being your friend and a privilege to be considered your brother. Till we meet again, rest in peace and fly high.
Christopher Conley Tapp, at the age of 47, left us all too early. It is incredibly sad. Chris's story, his life, it's a great story. The stuff of legends, movies, and we got to witness it. Chris's story is about the triumph of good over evil, the truth over lies, and justice over injustice. My name is Mike Heavey. I'm a friend of Chris's and a friend of the most important person in his life, his mother, Vera. From the moment of his birth, July 11th, 1976, until he passed on November 5th, Vera was always with him, sometimes just in spirit. His last 7 days, Vera was in that hospital room 24 hours a day. Chris knew that she loved him from the very start. Vera knew the truth about him. He was not a criminal. He was a good person. Starting in January of 2014, I met with Chris in prison 6 times. And we had innumerable phone calls and letters and exchange of information. During those visits in prison, we talked, we cried, we laughed. One thing about Chris, he had a great sense of humor. Now, in January of 1997, 7 months after Angie Dodge's brutal murder, Chris Tapp was interrogated 9 times, and he was polygraphed 7 times. In total, there are about 25 hours of videotape of the interrogations and polygraphs. I watched those 25 hours over and over, probably hundreds of times. I got to see into 20-year-old Chris's soul. I got to see what his mother already knew. He was a good person, honest, kind, trying to help the police find the killer. His only mistake, and it's not really a mistake, he was trusting and naive. Over the years, there's been all these superhero movies, superheroes with superpowers, Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, etc. Lately, the Avengers. The truth is, in real life, the superheroes are there. They walk among us. People like Chris Tapp, Vera Tapp, Carol Dodge. The typical superhero movie, like, say, The Avengers, starts with a group of good people, a community, a city, a country, working hard, enjoying life with all its ups and downs. Then, an evil force or person enters the picture and is a threat to the community's very existence. It's said that it's an ill wind that blows no good. On June 13, 1996, a great evil befell the city of Idaho Falls, the murder of Angie Dodge. And that evil wind kept blowing for 20 years. In a superhero movie, the superhero is often, or superheroes, are sometimes rejected by their community, banished, ostracized, ridiculed in the press. So one of our superheroes, an innocent man, Chris Tapp, went to prison. But he wasn't the only one who suffered. There were others, although they weren't locked up, who were ostracized, rejected, and looked down upon in the Idaho Falls community. Chris's fellow heroes include Carol Dodge, Vera Tapp, Jeremy Sargis. To a little bit lesser extent, I would include John Thomas and Jolynn Thomas. A judge told John Thomas he should quit working on Tapp's case. John didn't quit. Jolynn Thomas, a radio talk show host, talked about the innocence of Chris Tapp, and she was let go. I wonder if there was any connection. Chris and his fellow superheroes, Carol, Vera, Jeremy, John, and Jolynn, and many others, kept fighting for truth and justice, even though they faced public scorn. And they prevailed. Chris Tapp was released on March 22nd, 2017. So the Chris Tapp story is an epic story. One of many heroes. It's a story of vindication, redemption, and in the end, the city of Idaho Falls itself was redeemed. The Chris Tapp story, the Idaho Falls story, is a story of good over evil, truth over lies, justice over injustice. Christopher Conley Tapp left his mark. Chris was a good person, kind, honest, funny. He helped many people. If Chris could talk to us today, I think he would say, I had a good life, a great mom, and a great dad, and I helped others. And Chris's giving goes on. His organs were harvested, and they now help save the lives of others. Vera has told me that a couple times that Chris had God in his heart. And I agree. So I'm going to say what his heavenly Father has already said to him. Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of the Lord. Chris Tapp's life mattered. He prevailed and he triumphed. In his triumph, he saved the souls of others and the souls of the city of Idaho Falls. Thank you, Chris, for being a superhero and walking among us.
As everyone here knows, Chris Tapp was an incredible human being. I remember the first time I met with him in person. We met in a library. We had talked on the phone several times, but had never met face to face. When I met him, I was expecting to see someone who was hardened by time and circumstance. But what I found was a man who was kind and soft-spoken. He was very respectful and encouraging. I remember one of the first questions he asked me was my age, because he said he didn't think that I sounded on the phone as young as I looked. I told him my age and that I'd been practicing law for a pretty long time. I think at that moment we were both sizing each other up. He was looking to me to see what kind of a man I was, and truthfully I was doing the same, so turnabout is fair play. We weren't friends right away. We didn't hit it off in some fairy tale as if we were two people that had seemed to have known each other forever. Truthfully, we were two strangers sharing an experience that neither of us wanted to be in. However, over the next several years, we would form a type of brotherhood that few people in this lifetime ever get to share. Chris was my brother. For all intents and purposes, he was as close a family member as I have ever had. I had the opportunity to see Chris grow from living on someone else's terms to living life to its fullest. He was really fun to be around, as you all know. He had an energy that was infectious. One time I remember we were in New York City, and we were walking near Times Square, and Chris he was having the time of his life. He was in this huge city, and it was amazing. We walked by one of the theaters and saw that there was a Broadway musical playing that night, and to my surprise, he wanted to go. I am not a Broadway play kind of guy. I will generally do just about anything before I'll go to a Broadway play. So at first I said, no, Chris, you want to go, you go. I'm going to go back to the hotel. It'll be fun for you. But Chris was Chris. He was very insistent, and so I gave in. We went and saw Beetlejuice. And to be honest, it was awesome. The music, the costumes, there was a trampoline at one point. It was amazing. It was a huge monster. At any rate, it was really cool. And at the intermission, I got up to go to the restroom. And as I was passing Chris, I looked at him, and I could see that he was really having a good time. He really enjoyed himself. I saw a smile on his face that washed away a lot of the hurt and the pain and the tragedy. And not forever, just for that one moment. I saw Chris having fun. He was being in the moment. And that's one thing that I loved about Chris, was that he was in the moment. And he had a love for cars, and he loved to drive fast. One day he had called me and said that he had just gotten a new car. It was a Hellcat. And I thought to myself, well, that's a really fast car. Well, he called me a few days later, and he told me that he had taken off from a stop sign, didn't get more than 50 yards before he had dumped it into a canal bank. But that's who Chris was. He took risks, and he was a little bit reckless, but he had a lot of fun doing it, and he wasn't afraid to tell you, yeah, I screwed that one up. Another thing Chris really loved was camping with his dogs. And I got to tell you this story because it was pretty funny. So one night, Chris had taken off up to High C to go camping. And I had called him just to check up on him, see how he was doing. And he asked me if I wanted to go up to sit by the campfire for a little while and just visit with him. So he gave me the directions on how to get up to his campsite, and we started driving up there, my wife and I. It got dark, and I couldn't see much of anything, and all of a sudden I slam on my brakes, and I see in front of me there's this giant creature in the middle of the road. And I'm thinking, is it a moose? Is it some sort of a bear? It was Joker, his dog. This dog was immense. He still is immense. And he loved that dog. And so I saw that Joker was there, so I obviously thought Chris was probably around somewhere. So we pulled in and we sat down and started just visiting by the campfire. And just a few minutes later, there's some rustling in the bushes, and the dogs start barking and they run off. And I'm thinking, kind of out in the wilderness, are they going to be okay? And he looked at me and he said, have you seen the size of these dogs? And I said, yeah, they're probably going to be all right. Well, Chip, the German Shepherd, he comes back and he's just mulling around just after a few minutes. But we don't find Joker. And so he's yelling for Joker and nothing. And then all of a sudden, from behind me, I smell this. It smelled like a sewer line had broken. And all of a sudden, Chris is like, Joker! And, yeah, Joker, he could eat. And when you eat as much as Joker did, you also go to the bathroom pretty good, too. So, that was a really fun night. Now, we hear this cliche that freedom isn't free, and we've all heard it, but Chris really knew that. He knew the price of freedom, and he lived his life. He lived his life a free life. He wasn't hardened by what life had thrown at him. He had overcome the odds. You see, the character of man is measured not by what you say, but by what you do. And to really understand Chris, you have to think for a moment about what you would do if you were put away for 20 years and that life was taken from you. Would you be able to forgive like Chris did? Would you be able to move on with your life like Chris was? Would you be able to find peace in this life like Chris did? His ability to forgive was incredible. Chris once said in an interview, and he had done a lot of interviews, but he was interviewing one time with my sweet wife on her radio talk show. She asked him about how he felt about all the people who had wrongfully accused him and were actively fighting against him. And he said, I'll let God deal with them. I just don't have the time. And he really didn't. That's how he felt. He felt like, if I walk in this bitterness, if I hold on to this bitterness, it'll destroy him. And he didn't. He didn't let it destroy him. Chris was also really good at forgiving, and he was also really good at thanking me. He thanked me for helping him every time I saw him. And for a good long time, he was very, very sincere. So I want to thank you, because I know that Chris would want to thank you for showing up or for watching this on YouTube. He really appreciated his friends. And he really appreciated knowing that people knew that he was not a convicted murderer, that he was not a rapist. Even the people that just recognized him in the grocery store or the gas station or on the street and gave him a smile or a thumbs up or a head nod, he knew that, and he would tell me about it. So from the bottom of my heart and from the bottom of Chris's, thank you for taking the time to be here, to honor his life, and to honor his legacy.
So to kind of start, Chris lived a very simple but private life, as well as much of us all know that his life really wasn't private. So to write his life sketch and different memories and things that he has gone through that we've been able to share with him over the years, it is a little different. And he never really wanted a general funeral and a gathering, and he wanted to go out with a bang. He came in with a bang. So we try to keep it simple, but keep it to Christopher. So we've decided to read some of the condolences that people have posted on the Coltrane website to Vera and the rest of his friends and family that have truly been there. I know that, honestly, over these years, you would think, like John said, that you would think he's bitter, but Christopher didn't live a bitter life at all. And I'm honored to call him a friend. I know it's not always the easiest thing to go through or watch different trials and tribulations that we all face each and every day. If it's a simple this or a simple that, or to relive what he has gone through, he is a truly better person and was robbed a lot of things in life but love. And he provided that love to many of us and anybody that's watching. So we're just going to kind of go back and forth with some of these condolences, and again, is with Vera and the family and things, we truly appreciate all the support that Christopher has gone and receives and still receives over the years.
Okay. This is, "Oh, Vera, I am so deeply saddened for you and for Christopher. I remember Chris as Skyline as a teen. What a kind young man and what a great man he has become. I miss seeing him around town. You're in my thoughts at this difficult time, and sincere condolences."
I'm sorry to hear of Chris's passing. There are no words, but you are truly in my heart.
"I never knew this gentleman, Vera, but I am so very sorry for you and your family's loss. I can't imagine the heartache that you have been through and the struggles for so many years. Watching all of this over time has made me learn to care for folks that I've never known. I pray for you and pray for your broken heart. He watches over you now and is always with you. Remember, his troubles are finally over. God bless you and your family always."
I am so sad to hear of Christopher's passing. Your family has endured so much heartache and so much unjustness. You and Chris have been robbed of the past and now of your future. I am so very sorry for the loss, as well as the loss of anyone who knows Christopher. May you be blessed with peace and comfort in the days ahead, knowing he is at peace in the arms of our loving God. And may God bless you with the strength to get through the days ahead.
"I will miss Christopher and his silly laughter and his horrible jokes. He was an incredible human being in spite of his past. He was a wonderful friend and someone we could all learn from. My deepest condolences to his mother, who has now faced losing him all over again. May peace be with you, Vera. I love you."
We are sending our deepest condolences for your loss. You are in our thoughts and our prayers.
May all the wrong that has been placed on this kid for what he was, just a kid, when he was accused of doing something he was innocent of, find peace. He spent years fighting a corrupt system. Makes me even sadder. Chris will never got an attitude or changed with his wrongful conviction in negative ways. That's on the ones who placed him in there. I hope that they pay dearly. May heaven place wings on your back, and now that the world is less kind place without you.
To my brother, who we met for a brief moment, I will cherish that moment for a lifetime. Your smile lit up the room. Your energy was full of love, and thank you for being my brother. Rest in peace.
Chris worked with me in my classroom as a teacher's aide, and I always enjoyed him. He used to come into my classroom and visit me and told me the upcomings of the court dates. I liked Chris and was happy that when he was released for the short time. Rest in peace, my friend, with family and friends love. I will see you again.
My mom knew Angie Dodge's mother, Carol. My mom has always felt Christopher was innocent and wrongly accused. I'm glad the genetic evidence set him free, and he was able to enjoy what life he had left on this earth.
I was born and raised in Idaho Falls and graduated from Skyline High in '69. I didn't know him or his family, but I'm saddened to read that your loved one has passed. I pray for your entire family and comfort. God bless.
In loving memory of Christopher Tapp, with deepest sympathies, I have followed your journey through the legal system, and I can sympathize with your team, with your treatment in 1996. I was the city engineer.
I didn't know this young man, but my heart aches for his family. The reminder that life can be so unfair has never been more evident than in this young man and his family. There simply are no words.
I did not know Chris, but I followed his story right from when Angie was murdered. I always thought Chris was innocent, but was bullied into confessing of a crime. What a shame and a waste of a good life he was robbed of. My heart was so happy when he was finally released, and what an awesome person he was. And now he has been robbed again of having a good life and the good he was doing for others. My sincere sympathies goes out to the family. Rest in peace, Christopher. You will never be forgotten.
My heart breaks for you. The loss of Christopher is devastating, and I know he was your heart. My thoughts and prayers are with you and your entire family.
In conclusion, I just have a few words that I've asked Vera if it was okay to read. And to echo what Judge Heavey said, Vera has told me many times this week that Christopher had God in his heart, and I know he did. I know he did. I know that he couldn't have had better parents than what he had. And I know that they couldn't have had a better son than they had. Christopher was really and truly a good man, and he had a good heart. And I've come to know that more and more this week as we've had the honor and the privilege of serving Vera and her family. Just this poem that I've read a few times over the years is called "Gone From My Sight." It's by Henry Van Dyke, and it says, "I am standing upon the seashore. A ship at my side spreads her white sails to the morning breeze and starts for the blue ocean. She is an object of beauty and strength. I stand and watch her until at length she hangs like a speck of white cloud, just where the sea and sky come to mingle with each other. And then someone at my side says there, 'She is gone.' Gone where? Gone from my sight, that is all. She is just as large in mast and hull and spar as she was when she left my side. And she is just as able to bear her load of living freight to her destined port. Her diminished size is in me, not in her. And just at that moment, when someone at my side says, there she is gone, there are other eyes watching, waiting, and other voices ready to take up the glad shout, here he comes. And it says, and the end of the poem says, and that is dying. But I can only picture, but I'd like to picture that when Chris left this life, that there was a crowd maybe a lot bigger than this. And his dad, I know his dad would have been right there at the front. And other loved ones, grandparents and other family members, ready to take up the shout, here he comes. Here he comes. And I'm sure when they saw him, they were the first to run up to him and embrace him, and then maybe even show him around a little bit. But I know that for as many lives as he's affected there, he's probably affected more lives there than here. And there were many people cheering when he came. And like I said, I don't believe that he could have had a more wonderful mother and a more wonderful father than what he had. And he'd probably be the first to tell you that if he was here. So, and folks, this concludes the services for Christopher Tapp, and we'd like to thank everybody for coming today. We'd like to thank those of you who tuned in online. And folks, Chris will be laid to rest in the Ryrie Shelton Cemetery. And at this point, if we could ask everybody to please rise. If we could ask those serving as honorary pallbearers to make their way to the foyer of the building, please. And the family has asked me to ask each of you that there will be a luncheon at the Elks Club at 2 o'clock, and that you're all invited to that luncheon. So, and at this time, we'd also like to ask the pallbearers to please make their way to the front door of the building. Folks, we'd like to ask you, if you're traveling to the cemetery with us today, if you'd please turn on your lights and emergency hazard lights as we proceed to the cemetery.